Welcome to Gem Collectors with Shawn. I am Shawn. Well, I have a totally different opening than I had just one moment ago because Asa, of course, director and chief of everything that goes on here at Gem Shopping, instantly cut the show, which we never do. It's like we never have like a false start. So it was most unusual. He said, cut the Geiger off. So it's amazing, that little ticking noise that picks up just the ambient radiation that floats around in our air at any given time. But that little tiny ticking noise, the microphones are that sensitive, and you know, with him being able to hear it up close and personal. Yeah, that ended that start real quick. So that gives it away that I do have the Geiger counter here, which always can lead to some fun, education, and a deeper knowledge of the world around us. A very big world around us of a lot of importance anytime you're dealing with the atom, which is, of course, the creator of all objects on the planet. All starts with an element from that periodic table of elements that you probably in your 9th or 10th grade chemistry class had a brief introduction to. Well, I went all in. I loved science. I loved chemistry. And as a junior in high school in Sarasota, Florida, to the point where as a junior, the high school I went to for 3 grades had 3,000 students. It was so advanced. This was a public high school, but Sarasota is where they used to say the older people's parents went to retire. Well, they also retired with lots of money. So Sarasota County and school systems have deeper pockets. So even then, I was able to take marine biology, and I'm talking about the bus. You know, girls' rule was they could wear shorts, and they had to have a bikini top on. They couldn't be full bikini. Oh no. And so, you know, the guys are short. So this is, the class was actually for more advanced science students, which included me. So it was great, you know. Bus took us to the bay, and it was, you know, we got to seine for the little critters and all. So, you know, that was another part of my introduction to another part of the science world. And then, so my other class was chemistry, to the point that I became the teacher's assistant as an 11th grader, which usually doesn't happen until you're a senior, if you remember. And chemistry 2, as a junior, taking that and well enough to become a teacher's assistant. Well, you have to be a nerd, you have to be a geek, and such was the case. And I have self-taught myself mostly ever since high school in well, like this morning. So I just barely got started on looking up a word, and we'll discuss the word in a minute. And it just took me down a rabbit hole, not of some nefarious conspiratorial one, but one of knowledge and understanding and education. And all this information was being absorbed. I was trying to absorb it all eidetically, meaning so that I could just read it and remember it like I used to be able to do prior to having long COVID for 3 years. So I think some of that has gone by the wayside. But we have lots to do today. I saw, because Miss Christie in inventory, she sometimes updates me on sales or if something particular happens. Well, you know, the day the show, or the day after the show posted, she just sent me the sales items that had already sold, and it was a good portion of the entire show. So that was great to see. That's always encouraging, even though I miss some of these items horribly that I'm letting go. It's still knowing that they're going to a wonderful studious group of all of you, which is far better than if I passed away and my son is sitting there looking like, oh, you know, sounding like Lurch. on the Addams Family, wondering what to do with all these things. And, you know, he'd be confronted with the same way I got a lot of those items by other families coming to my buying offices or my jewelry stores, because I had the reputation that I would buy rocks. This crazy hippie will buy your rocks. And that was great, because it was great for all these estates. These people that had no idea what to do with this weird, funny equipment. And I just said, bring it on. That's why I have it, like 8 steamers. I have rolling mills. I have, I don't know, I really have so many items that I need to take better care of by way of the equipment. Because I never turned down any of the equipment. Why would I, when you can purchase it, you know, inexpensively enough? And I've given away things to get other people started in the field. So anyway, we've got a lot to do, and let's get to the trivia first. So the trivia questions from last week always involve something to do with the show, usually. The 2 questions were, first one being, name 3 locations mentioned that iridescent rainbow garnet is found. And the answers were Arizona, Mexico, and Japan. The second question was, what is the name of the feldspar found with the amsonite? So the amsonite that we featured from Colorado, there was another feldspar that was and does form with many of the specimens from that area. It's a particular type of feldspar, and that answer is Clevelandite, recognized by the thin blades, usually always white, and it is a form of albite, which then is a type of plagioclase feldspar, which is a like garnet. There, you have a calcic or a calcium feldspar in the form of labradorite. You can have a sodium feldspar. In other words, the beginning element changes, and that changes the type of feldspar, just like it does in garnet. And so, yeah. So, all right, now. Let's get to the fun comments. A few more of you joined in this week. I think everybody is really the start of the summer holiday, and of course, for so many people, and with the 4th of July, and happy 4th of July to all of you. I hope everyone is being safe. Fireworks and things that go boom are some of my favorite pastimes. And, you know, I was a little kid, you know, when I was young, that was taking the firecrackers apart to try to, you know, make a bigger boom. And oddly enough, you know, I wondered, how does that just happen? Or what also, remember, you could get the little cap guns, and the cap guns, you know, had the little roll of caps on them. And you know, it's so sad. I was at a toy store kind of place, and it's really not the kind of toy stores like in the older days. And they had one scrawny little cap gun. We used to have all kinds of cool choices for cap guns, but anyways, the little charge, the little pop you would hear when the hammer would strike it, was, you know, now that I know all these things, a type of powder that goes off with compression, or again, striking it. And, you know, of course, I'm thinking always in the terms of what I know, and that's rocks and minerals. And so I'm thinking of the different minerals, and that will create a spark and will create a maybe save your life if you know how and what to find in nature. Piece of flint. You know, I've seen these survivalist shows, or those 21 days, you know, outside without clothes on kind of thing. And I see them, if they bring one thing, and they bring all these little magnesium starters, I think. Every time, it seems almost without fail, they fail and don't work. And I'm thinking, really, truly, if you wanted to know how it was done over and over, I even saw some of them trying to do the stick method. Mother Nature has what's best for you out there. And of course, you can find it and create an amazing spark and a real one through the use, of course, flint or those in that family of stones. So pyrite's another one. So that if you know those things, they could truly save your life. So, all right, let's get to the comments. First, we have Brad. It was good to hear from Brad chiming in. Brad in Pennsylvania. Greetings to the Raven, Shawn, Asif, Gem Shopping staff, and the whole Rock family. Apologies. I'm always about a week behind trying to watch the posting, so this email will be too late for your June 26th show. So in anticipation of Independence Day, I wish all of you a happy 4th of July in advance. All right, that well received, and same back at you. The days are getting shorter on daylight all the time, and the summer will be over for it really needs to be already. It is so hot here in Georgia that, I'm feeling finally, of course, a little better overall. I put it this way. I told someone the other day, I feel well enough to be able to tell I am better. And I had never really been able to say that in that way before. So 3 years into this long COVID stuff, I am ready for it to be better. But maybe it's best that the summer is here, because if it was a cooler weather temperature and with feeling just a little bit better, like Raven says, she goes, you get a feeling a little bit better, then you just go and try to be Superman, and then you end up just feeling bad all over again. And so maybe it's best, because summertime, we literally can't do anything. I was talking to Dave, and he was the same thing. It's only so much, even at his age, he's like 20 years, not quite, but almost 20 years younger than I. And just can't get out in that kind of oppressive heat anymore. So that'll give me additional time for some healing on that end, and then this fall to look forward to, and we'll see what that brings, because again, for 3 years I've been kind of not able to do the things that I love the most, and that is to go find rocks and minerals. So, all right, going on with Brad. By the way, everybody, a lot of people don't really realize that beginning of the summer solstice, June 21st, that is the longest day of the sunlight, of daylight. After that particular day, in other words, the days get longer up until that point. And at that point, the days start getting shorter on both ends. At first, maybe only a minute every a couple days total. But you'll slowly see, a minute total between both days every day, then a minute on each end, and it picks up speed heading into the shorter winter days. And even though, of course, for us, we have, all right, to us, it's the entire summer left to go, I do like it when I know the days are already getting shorter, because, the heat. Yeah. All right. Belated trivia answers from the 615 show. Ruby Jack has crystals as sphalerite that look red. Sphalerite was a source of zinc instead of lead, and so was considered treacherous. Ironic in a way. Uranium eventually decays to an isotope of lead. It looked to me like the Geiger was missing a screw in the handle. Or maybe that was not a screw hole. Or maybe Shawn has a screw in his head that the Geiger lost. By the way, everybody, the Geiger, I would like to introduce you to it, is actually a very high-end, expensive, can't miss it in the woods color Geiger counter. And it's the Geiger-Müller pancake design, and portable, as you can see. 2 buttons, control everything. And so with that hole, he made me so curious when he wrote that about looking like it was missing a hole. I looked at it and I couldn't really remember if that was a missing screw or supposed to be there. I know that it was really well made, so it would have been surprised if it lost a screw, but all of us lose a screw every now and again, right? Or at least the screw gets a little loose. I had to go and look it up on their website and their tutorial of how to work it, and saw that theirs was the same. And then I actually looked inside there with a flashlight when I didn't have a lot of time getting ready this morning, with my optivisor on my hairdo that I could have messed up with that optivisor around my head. No, not that vain, but there's a sensor. There's some type of sensor. It's a little metal plate down there that looks far more intentional than a normal little metallic plate would. So I think it's some kind of sensor. So I'll leave it at that. All right. But I'm glad you asked me about it, because I sure would have wanted to know if it was missing a screw, and I did not look into that. All right. He goes on to say, you talked about decrepitation. Now, we'll talk about that word in a minute. You talked about decrepitation of minerals as metamic. Metamic also happens to be a material from boron carbide and aluminum that absorbs neutrons. Since you mentioned putting your radioactive minerals in a malachite box and then placing that inside an aluminum box, are you shielding for neutrons with the aluminum? By the way, there are some articles about lightning being a source that will generate neutrons besides cosmic rays in the atmosphere. So, do your fulgurites have levels above background, since beach sand often contains thorium? If neutrons strike affects thorium. Just wondering. Then he wraps up, all your holiday incendiaries light up your night skies and remind you of your favorite mineral colors. I will be thinking about opals and Graves Mountain turgites if I can stay awake that late. What minerals will you be imaging? Well, the turgite, if all of you can remember, is such an amazing piece. I couldn't have had it go to a better home for me to let that go. But if you ever want to see something just stupendous for a rainbow of colors, it was that turgite, which is that iridescent goethite found only really at Graves Mountain. And I had a, really by way of rarity, it's probably a museum quality piece of it that I sold way less than the market of it, because it had the most tremendous iridescent field that, so yeah, that's going to be tough to beat. That's going to be a tough one to beat there. So maybe since I used to own it, maybe I'll think of that same one. No, actually, when you said that, the first thing that came to mind was some of the Tasmanian crocoite. Don't ask me why. I know a lot of different minerals. And maybe it's because I really don't have. I have a little tiny piece of crocoite, and I've always wanted, and it's funny because Raven knows a lot about minerals and semi-precious gems and whatnot, and she didn't know what it's composed of or anything, but one day we were talking, and all of a sudden it came up how much she loved crocoite. It's like, what in the world? How do you even know what that is? I was just really surprised. Probably a little, I'm just going to say it, probably sounded a little like talking down to her about her knowing about it even. But then it was like, kind of like, I became a little possessive of that knowledge. It's like, only I'm supposed to know something like that. But but she did. So we both like that. So you know, I picture a specimen with some either very simplistic, just a couple crystals, or one that has a lot of intersecting, bisecting crystals in it. And so that was the very first one to come to mind as far as some. But that's a great question, actually. I had never, in all these years, been asked outright what kind of stones I would be imaging. And if anything, the second thing that came to my mind, and it's going to become repetitive in my life, but it is opal. It is opal, and because there's no two opals look alike. Maybe because it's my son and my mom's birthstone. Maybe because I've been down in the mines at Lightning Ridge, had a Barbie with miners from the Ridge, watched them play rugby, and just a really tight connection to opal over the years that has developed. But the very first thing was that, and yeah, great question there, Mr. Brad. Great question. But I have to admit, as far as beauty and rainbow of colors, that turquoise, can't be beat. All right, so a couple of the other things that you mentioned, which were great questions. So we covered the gigger, we covered the dreamlike items we were thinking about, and now also I'm going to get, because we're going to check right now. Here's a fulgurite, and here is the Geiger counter that we'll leave on lonely long enough so we don't drive Asif nuts. Okay, so you know, you can see it measures the and the numbers are actually big enough that you can see them at home without any other camera work. So the ambient temperatures in this room, meaning what is floating around in the air, you can see the numbers change, and this is in the CPM, counts per minute. So anyway, it's in the 40 to 50 range. You can see sometimes it drops down to 20 or 30, but up to 58. Nothing has really gone above 60. So here's our Florida fulgurite, all right, that is created from sand. Let's put it up to wrong side, because I'm thinking it's backwards. Okay, so let's put it up to the back of this, where the disc is located, and let me look and make sure you see that. All right, now let's see if the numbers will go up beyond the ambient range that it was, and I see what 20s, I saw 30s, there's a 50, almost 60, 52, and we just let it sit there for a moment so it all settles down, and 61, 44. So if you, I don't know, is almost completely negligible, if there might be a little. Now, those huge, you know, in Florida, radioactivity is absolutely, totally possible, because a lot of the fossils have radiation in them due to the phosphate mining in Florida. The phosphate mining in Florida, as a process, as part of the process, creates what is called a phosphogypsum. And that is what you see piled in the big pines. If you go to big mounds, I mean tall, there's some of the tallest points in Florida are the leftover from this mining. And what they are able to do is to separate the radioactive phosphates from the non-radioactive, and that's what they're piling up on those huge stepped mounds that they create, and the tops of them dry and skim over, creating kind of on each layer a protective barrier against radiation being exposed to the outside world. All right. Most of the radiation we get around here is alpha radiation. Alpha radiation can be stopped by the skin. Piece of paper, something that thin, goes only 1 to maybe 4 inches, travels away from the source. Let's say a mineral specimen, alpha. Beta radiation, you can get radiation burn from beta radiation. It can travel upwards of 6 feet or so from the source and does penetrate the skin. So that is a type of radiation that is much more worrisome and much more dangerous. And guess what stops beta radiation? Aluminum. Aluminum will stop and absorb beta radiation. Now, other things that will stop and absorb beta radiation is other heavy metals like copper, as in the malachite box. Yep. So outside my, it's inside my U-238 is inside the malachite box, which is inside a little aluminum box, and I have just an ambient temperature reading outside of that, whereas inside the uranium reading is off the chart. But U-238 is non-fissile. What that means is it does not, it's balanced, it's stable, and it does not create, except it's radioactive, but it does not create a reaction to a fission reaction. Now, it will, though, but it takes longer than about the age of the Earth, has other isotopes that do degrade from there. You mentioned about metamite, I think you wrote, let's see, that I had, you talked about decrepitation. That sounds like taking someone's head off, doesn't it? Of the minerals as metamict. Okay, so metamict with a T on the end. Metamict as is metamictization, the process of where a crystallized form of a gem or mineral is broken down into an amorphous, meaning a non-crystalline molecular structure like opal. And that is achieved through natural radiation in the earth. And it is observed most commonly in the green zircons, and how you get the green zircon, and how green zircon becomes a low zircon. Actually, today, I'm offering a green zircon from my collection. Wait till you see it. So, other than that, when I was looking up your reference to that word, the metamict word without the T on the end, of course, what came up was a comment about how to avoid ectoparasite proliferation. That sounded kind of interesting. And then the other thing was it was the name of a Pokemon. Oh yeah, I thought that was funny. Which actually I think Pokemon has been kind of cool, and some of those other things, naming and teaching children or whatever age, preteens or whoever plays with those kind of things, about minerals and gemstones, because I see these names when I go and do a search, and the first thing that pops up is a whole bunch of internet pages on the character that's named, let's say, amethyst or something like that. It's like, oh boy, So, yeah, between that and some of the metaphysical pages I have to get through, you have to kind of sort for the information you're really looking for. But as far as the word decrepitation, now that is the sound, yes, the particular sound of a crystal makes when it is drying out, like a salt crystal. And that is the word ascribed to that crackling or breaking of certain crystals when heated. So that was pretty interesting to see there. Now, the worst of the rays. Oh yes, we had alpha, we had beta. Here's the bad boy, gamma. Gamma ray is exactly that, except it's not a particle that is coming out of a nucleus. Gamma is an electromagnetic wave, and it takes over 500 feet for its strength or power to degrade by half. So it's a process where every 500 feet, there's half of as much of it left in its continued travel. But when you think of the formula for basically pi, endless, no ending to that division. So electromagnetic waves just can keep going out. Gamma is the bad stuff. It will go through anything almost. The only thing that'll stop gamma rays is about 12 feet of water. Hydrogen is the gamma ray death ray. It is the what will completely do a gamma ray in is hydrogen, and it's concrete, and the minerals in concrete will stop it also, but 6 feet of concrete or 1.5 feet of lead. The denser the material, the better, or material with hydrogen will take care of the gamma rays, but they are certainly the bad boys. So now, all alpha particle emission pieces won't always become metamixed. Apatite is one that can have REE, rare earth elements, and it doesn't become metamixed. It doesn't lose its crystallization, nor does xenotime. I actually have had xenotime on some specimens I've offered all of you before. Here's the neat thing about the mention that Brad, he had all kinds of information in here, so that's why I'm keep looking at referencing back, because he talked about Mr. Brad, the aluminum and shielding neutrons with the aluminum. I actually use the aluminum to shield the beta rays more so than anything else. So the aluminum will stop the beta rays, and the malachite box, well, of course, all it takes is a piece of paper to stop alpha particles. The malachite box with the copper in it will stop the gamma rays, and the other particles as well. So because U-238 is doesn't put out lots of the other stuff, only a very, very small amount of the gamma and the beta. Mostly it's what's called an alpha emitter. And all right, so now phosphogypsum will produce radium-226, and radon, that has to be monitored all the time down there in Florida. I know some of you have probably seen those huge white mountains of material and wondered, what is that? Well, again, Florida is the largest phosphate producer, one of the largest in the world. And so many things from detergents to, the list goes on and on. But there is other isotopes of phosphorus, and in this process you create a material that is radioactive, and that's how the fossils become radioactive. The fossils in Florida are picking up that radioactive signature from this same process of being buried in this same material. But all these readings are within safe measurements. They're just, when we say there's a signature, it just is greater than the ambient, but still well within the safe range. So the top 3 hardest materials in the world. Diamond is the first one. The two others, in case you haven't heard, is cubic boron nitrate is the second, and the third hardest thing is B4C, boron carbide. Boron carbide added to aluminum makes one of the hardest materials and lightest materials that they have come up with. And that's certainly something I'd like to see some of, or have some of that material. But isn't that amazing that man has not been able to make anything harder than a diamond, which is just pure carbon in an isometric crystal system, and creating the hardest thing. So that's quite amazing. So the boron carbide and aluminum the aluminum absorbs neutrons, and so that's why with the U-238 it emits a little bit of everything, but I have everything that it takes to shut that baby down. And I wouldn't even be messing with any of that stuff unless I didn't have a very expensive Geiger counter. And makes all the difference in the world, and it is a lot of fun. You can find a lot of cool stuff. So let's see if I covered everything. Some of the new words of the day would be decrepitation, sounding like decapitation, which again is a noise made of crackling or breaking of certain crystals when heated. You know, I think of those pop rocks you put in your mouth and they go crack, snap, crackle, pop. Probably something, those are activated probably by, moisture, saliva versus heat. So, very interesting, very interesting indeed. But yeah, so thanks for mentioning about the boron carbide. That was something I didn't know about. And some of the other, of course, radiation things in that level of interest and knowledge, I have just slowly introduced everybody a little bit to it. We won't go too deep into it. I don't want everybody to be, blurred over. But in our world and around our world every day, you hear about this threat, nuclear this, nuclear that. Isn't it better to just understand it just a little bit more from even a mineral collection standpoint? That's the place to start with an understanding of that realm. So let's getting on to Cindy in Pennsylvania. Hello, Rock family. Such good information this week. I had to pause and rewind to get all the notes written. Took me a while to get through this week's show. An interesting read related to radioactive danger. See, y'all are getting into the subject. I read this a few years ago, the Radium Girls. Oh, yes. Boy, do I like those Radium Girls. Meanwhile, hundreds of girls, this is in a quote, toil amidst the glowing dust of the radium dial factories. The glittering chemical covers their bodies from head to toe. They light up the night like industrious fireflies. With such a coveted job, these shining girls are the luckiest alive until they begin to fall down with a mysterious illness. Well, first let me finish. Miss Cindy in Pennsylvania getting the answers right. Cleveland Dite and the three, Japan, Arizona, and Mexico. Okay, so let me add a little thing about the Radium Girls. Yes, so, and I'm sure, anyway, if you're 40s or older or younger and you have at least a grandmother, you're going to have, or have seen a dial, a watch dial, that the hands would light up when it was dark. You could still see the hands. I very clearly remember my mom having one, and several around the house. And then, of course, when I was collecting antique watches and selling and working with the watch market, especially the estate watch market when I had my jewelry store, I saw a lot of them. And I just would throw them into my collection box. I ended up with just a whole box of old watch works and the hands, because you could, if you had missing hands or something, I always kept and collected the parts. Well, here's the other thing. You know how those radium girls were able to paint the hands, because the hands had to be painted preferably while they were on the watch, because handling of them afterwards, trying to get them on the center piece, it would be real easy to affect the smooth paint, and then they'd have to do it on the watch anyway. So it took a really fine point to the paintbrush. I don't know if you know where I'm going with this. So how do all of us, when we were kids growing up, and even as we're older, how do we get a fine point on a bristle brush, on a little fine bristle brush? We wet it. Some of us dunk it in a jar of water. Others just lick it with their tongue. Yep. All the radium girls, to get that fine point they needed on that paintbrush, so they could just make one swipe down that little watch hand, would get that really fine point they wanted on their paintbrush by just licking it to that sharp point. Naturally, their mouths glowed by the end of the day, and by the end of time, all of them ended up suing. They all had issues, cancer issues, radiation issues. Yeah, you can't only do that so long and get away with it. What they were doing was mixing one of the most radioactive substances, radium, and directly putting it in their mouth that would be ingested into their body. Wouldn't take long at all. So yes, what we didn't know can hurt us. Don't forget, one of the greatest scientists of all time, who probably can get credited for everything that led to discoveries regarding radiation and nucleation from there. Madame Curie. Madame Curie. Brilliant. Miss Kathleen says, hello, Shawn and fellow Rock family. It was great to hear that your house is finally done and you can move everything back in. Thank you for another great show. My favorite piece is the Democratic Republic of the Congo Azurite. It is simply beautiful. Yes, that color, nothing like it. Have a great week. Trivia, Japan, Arizona, Mexico. Triclinic polyorthoclase. That was really close, because they, I would have even credited you for a polymorphs, but looking for Clevelandite type of albite, type of plagioclase, type of feldspar. But well done to you, because it was a difficult question overall. Hi, Professor Raven, GSN crew, and the whole Rock family. This is from Miss Barbara. Thanks for the cool bracelet and carved jade flower. I will wear both proudly. It will remind me that filling my head with information is not only satisfying, but also has a tangible reward. It certainly does in this show. You know how much I love to, I guess, teach, to share knowledge. I remember the Prospector show on the Weather Channel and got to meet Amanda at a gemstone conference in Knoxville, Tennessee. Because remember last week, everybody, if you didn't, you can go back to the show and you can still order anything in the show that has not sold 24/7. I featured several, and I told you it had so much detailed information, even the name of the pocket that these amsonites were discovered in. And some had fluorites on the bottom of them, little fluorites, and they were all very affordable. If you want one from Colorado, made in the USA kind of stuff, watch last week's show. If all of them sell out, maybe I'll bring in a couple others. Since the show, I have seen the Doors family in videos explaining their amsonite and smoky quartz claim at mineral shows. It seems the beautifully colored amsonite is also prized for a number of twinned crystal habits they display. And the cleaning preparation of their specimens of the smothering feldspar pocket clay is a long and intense job that adds to what they must charge for their goodies. They sure don't look so pretty when they come out of the ground, but do clean up a treat. Yes. The smoky quartz and amsonites coming out of Colorado look nothing like in the Denver Museum what they have put together. They take picture after picture after picture as they do this process, because it doesn't, when you first realize it and see it, you see it as a whole. And it may be a massive piece with incredible smoky quartz crystals and amazonite crystals. Stunning. But it doesn't come out as one piece. Everything tends, the molecular bond between the items tend to dissociate themselves from each other. So what they have to do is take all these pictures, so you're basically putting back together a puzzle. And, you know, they clean everything because, yes, the clay is horrible. Because remember, feldspars, all this red clay in Georgia, all has to do with iron stained, decomposed feldspar. Which, by the way, silica quartz is not the most common element in the planet, in the world. It is feldspar. Now, it is extremely time consuming. Mineral and specimen preparation. I saw one of their items, and they have a evaluator come in, and you know, he was evaluating this cluster at like $500,000, because you know, at some point, if they don't sell it to a private, they'll take the donation, they'll do something, I don't know. Donations aren't what they used to be and doing that sort of thing anymore. And it might get tough to find a buyer. I don't know. You know, I've always had an issue about specimens being glued together. So that would be something, though, you kind of have to accept if you want one of these magnificent specimens. You have to realize and know that it didn't come out that way, that it was reassembled. But nevertheless, absolutely stunning to see the process and what they go through. As to the trivia, iridescent garnet comes from Japan, Arizona, and Mexico. The other feldspar found in Colorado, amazonite, microcline, is the albite variety called Clevelandite. It is also found with Pakistani aquamarine. Wonder what kind of feldspar weathered to form the pocket clay. The radioactive potassium in it is supposed to color the smoky quartz crystals. Well, it's finally gotten oppressively humid, so I can't put it off any longer and must turn my attention to installing my window ACs this morning before the temperatures rise. Gotta scoot. Yes, to get to meet those in the Doris family. Yeah, they are certainly, we're fortunate to wind up with that claim, and are some of the leading miners definitely in that material out there. So that was pretty neat for you, Miss Barbara, and good job on getting your answers correct. And Miss Elisa. All right, Shawn, I love the beautiful gemstones you offered. I have my eye on a few, but I have to wait to buy. However, my answers to this week's questions are Japan, Arizona, Mexico. Amazonite is a microcline type from the potassium feldspar variety. My favorite item of the week was the purple Burma spinel. Excellent choice. I hope everyone is able to stay cool. It's been temps of 96. Yep, you're in Florida, which feels like 117 here. Shawn, your indoor sleuth sounds ideal with these temps. Take care, everyone, and have a good week. Miss Elisa. So, Miss Elisa doing well on her answers. Almost. We were just looking for that Clevelandite there. So, all right, the difference being that labradorite is a variety of plagioclase, which is a calcium sodium. Everything else is the same at the end of the formula for the most part, which in feldspar is a aluminum silicate and oxygen. And it is the first that changes. So in a albite family, it's a sodium feldspar, so it's Na. Sodium. Then if you have a sodium calcium, it's plagioclase. If you have a stronger calcium than sodium in the formula, it becomes labradorite, so therefore a type of plagioclase, just more calcium. And that's how they kind of do it in determining a microcline is a potassium. In other words, it starts with potassium as the element, and the rest of the formula are the same. So kind of like garnets, but we won't get into too much of that. We'll take it easy on you there, but there's a lot of information in there that you need to know as a general human being that walks this earth, where nuclear everything is something you need to know. So we have the winner. And again, without too many people being correct, it was, it certainly raised the odds for those playing. This week's winner, let me look and see as we drew from the hat. Cindy in South Central Pennsylvania. Let's show Miss Cindy what she has won. Look at this. Look at this. It is the really cool Indonesian amber. Now, if you forgot about much about this material, I don't think this can necessarily show it in this light, but yeah, it might. Look at that. It absolutely glows blue. It glows fluorescent blue. It's stunning. So it has that really cool property about it, and then it has a look at this. Look at the color to it. Beautiful, beautiful colors in there. Look at that. So it has those really nice reds and has a great clarity, very little organic matter in it. Thank you, sir. Congratulations, Miss Cindy. All right, we'll be back with the start of the show in just a moment. Check this out. You know, very similar somewhat to color, because people confuse this stone with sapphire. And when you think of Nepal, you know, if you're familiar with that area, you know, Nepal, Pakistani, the Kashmir area of Pakistan, the Kashmir area of India, that whole area, of course, is quite large. But in the geographic sense, this is at least a gemstone mine somewhat close to those incredibly famous Kashmir deposits of sapphires. If you want a stone that has confused many people for sapphire, this is it. Now, you look for the striations going down the center of the stone. That's kind of a giveaway if you see those. There's many other signs, including hardness and specific gravity and whatnot, that tells the difference. But hey, you want a really neat look, this is a fantastic collector stone. There's some deep blues of these that go upwards of $100 a carat. But this one, opportunity, if you want a really cool stone to add to your collection, $32. Only $32 on that one. And you can have something that probably no one does. Or if you already do, what a great gift something like that would make to another rockhound. All right, now, I mentioned this on the show, and of course, I have had this stone for a long time because I haven't gotten one of those round tuits. And let me show you. I had talked to you about metamictization, which is the breakdown of a crystal structure that leaves it amorphous, the poor thing. But amorphous is like opal. Opal is an amorphous gem, doesn't form in a crystal system. And it takes natural radiation and a long period of time for this to occur. And what you get is green, and it's the only natural way to get a green zircon. Look at this. Look at that green. This is item number, a real treat, item number 855718. Wait, oh, golly, Shawn. Wait, okay, I know. Let me see here. A carat 64, but I want to make sure I have the right item number on that. Yeah, so it's 1124523. I'm sorry about that, Asif. Yeah. Okay. Natural green zircon is only created by natural radiation in the Earth's crust, and so to get that color green. Now, what I have unfortunately seen in the market is huge 10 and 12 karat zircons that they've taken those tan ones and whatnot from Tanzania and just bombarded them and made them a unnatural green color. This has a little nick on the crown that would cause it not to really pass for QC? Well, it might, because the fact that it's a metamic gem right there. So for you cutters out there, this would be an easy cleanup. This kind of stone, it also has a modified Portuguese pavilion on it. So it really has a lot of brilliance. Remember, it's a low zircon. Due to it being metamict, it's lowered its refractive index, it's lowered its brilliance, it's lowered its specific gravity and hardness. And that's what makes it a real gem. This is a opportunity, even if you don't cut stones, because the little tiny place in the crown is barely discernible. And you're getting the real thing. Look at that, Ceylon. Oh, we don't have that up there, but yes, it is in your description here. Let me just make sure. Oh, yeah, can we add that to it, Asif, please? Ceylon, or Sri Lanka. This is one of the fantastic stones. Yeah, it wasn't in the, oh, Sri Lanka. Yeah. Beautiful stone. How about this? Opportunity in pricing and a real treat. It's what would be $100 a carat at a great opportunity for you. Is now I'm making it, because I'm just doing it as a for recutting. So with that notation on it, I am offering this little jewel for only, let's do this. Why not? $32. $32 on that. And wow. Again, easily 100 a carat, and that's that really desirable color green. Oh, here's the other thing about metamict and metamictization in the zircons. It often leaves the zircons cloudy, a cloudy look to them. So in this case, what's really rare is the fact that this is not a cloudy stone. So enjoy that. And again, like I said, to be able to get it for that price. And I have not checked the fluorescence on it. I'm kind of curious. It may have some fluorescence. That would be something to check and look up. I am writing down the right info on this. 1-1. All right, now, next I have another unique item. And, wow. Wow. Okay. You know, I haven't had too much of anything here from Germany, but let's look at 112-42-23. 112-42-23. And this is from a mine that is so old that it actually closed in 1880s, not 1980s. So it was mined out by the 1880s, and it had been operating for a long time prior to that. It produced so many different minerals. Look at this. Look at this green. So you have that stunning, stunning, beautiful green to the zircon, and now look at this. Look at this piece. We'll look at that a little closer. This is a rare crystal cluster. Now, if you love this, yeah, that's beautiful. Look at this one. That's part of the deal. Look at that. Pyromorphite. Now, oh wow, look at those crystals on the edge. Pyromorphite for Greek translates to fire form. Oh my. That is, see what I mean? And when you get, look at those little crystals right there. I am going to turn this off so I don't have to keep chasing them. Pyromorphite meaning fire form. And I love this. And guess what? I have a little crumb, and I'm going to try this with my crumb. All right, it was named fire form. Oh yeah, we can try that. Because the miners, when you heat this, apparently, all right, so the chemical formula is actually on the label. I wrote it. So it's of course, it has lead, and then it has, it looks like I have calcium and phosphorus and what is that? Silicon, I believe. Oh, it's a chloride. So chlorine. All right. So lead being the primary element. So apparently when you heat this, it turns into a little lead ball, and then upon cooling, it crystallizes before your very eyes. Now you know that's going to be exciting. Let's see what this does. Let's see and look through here, and if this lights it up any more for us. Look at this. So now, cerussite. All right, you see cerussite? That is going to be the white crystal. Cerussite is a lead carbonate. Look at those crystals right there. Now, they're hexagonal. So if you look at the end of these, you see, okay, let me get my pointer. And this is one of the ways to determine what this is. All right, this crystal right here, you can see if it was completed all the way around, there's a little bit of etching there, that there would be 6 sides to it. Hold on, let me. And it's heavy. Of course, if there's a lead in it, it's going to be heavy. And it really shows well the color. Let's look at this one. Look at these little beautiful jewels. So this is what they call thumbnails. So you can put them in those little boxes. All right, and here, the white crystals here also, you're talking about cerussite, which is a lead carbonate. And is part of what can form with the lead present, forming the pyromorphite. You can get that as well. Let's look under here, even a higher magnification using this. And just look at that. That's what I can just spend hours with a magnifier looking into this world. Now, let me do this, flip a switch here, and turns on a little bit more light. Let me grab this one and put it up underneath here. There we go. You can see the etching. Look at the etching in the top of that crystal. That actually shows it quite well. And then you look further down and you can tell there's 6 sides to it. Look at all the crystals going in multiple directions. Wow. Look at, there we go. Look at those little white clear crystals right there. There's your cerussite. What a gem. The good Hoftung mine. The mine was opened back up in 2009 for specimen collecting. That is when this one came along. I have had this one for quite some time, for a number of years, possibly 10. So got it probably not too long after. What a beautiful, beautiful opportunity. And I am going to try and see, because you know how I like to grow crystals, just if that will really grow before my very eyes. So a long, old historical mine, the Hoffman mine was. And a beautiful specimen. How about this? Both of those pieces, both of them. And look at that. That's a decent size. The crystals are the money. Look at the size of those. $68. Only $68. And something that if you go and try to find these somewhere, it takes a bit. It takes a little bit of luck. You can maybe find them, but they're pricey. They've gotten really, really pricey now. All right, let's show you. 112, 43. Hold on, let's see. Yeah, 112, 43, 23. I have one more pyromorphite. In other words, translating that, fire formite. Because that's exactly what pyromorph means, fire form. And that comes from the fact that under the fire, under the torch, the melting temperature, of course, was low enough that they could do this. It actually melts the green crystals, which I really can't wait to find out. And then, as they cool down, they form a crystalline form before, as it cools. Well, how cool is that? All right, what I'm getting ready to show you, I have not seen before in pyromorphite, and that is bicolor crystals. Look at this specimen. So I'll put it next to these other for a moment so you can tell the difference. Look at this one. Look at this. So it's looks larger. Color is a little bit different, but there is something special in the color of this one. Let's go in and look. This, for one thing, it's just a lovely, lovely mix of colors. And now it also has bicolor crystals. Can you do your magic, Dave, and go in on this? There we go. Now let me get some light on there. Here, perfect. There we go. There we go. Look at that bicolor. There's one right out of the gate right there. Look at that. I have not seen this in these before. All right. There's actually quite a few. Oh, there's one. There's another one right there. Bicolor. There is actually quite a few of them, and they're yellow and green. Look at all the intersecting crystals on this. I am going to move this. Let's get a little bit more light on that. All right, there we go. Wow, yeah, that looks great. Oh, yep. All right, so look at the form for one thing. Look at this nice long crystal there. The other thing pyromorphite does, the crystals can grow curled. They actually can grow, you always think of crystals having to grow straight, but they can actually grow in a curled form. And oh, look at that. There's one right there. Look at that bicolored one right there. And that's what makes this, look at that. Look how those two colors. There's another one right there. Look at those two colors. Look at the curvature. Look how some of these are curved. Some of them are a yellow tint. This is, look at how many. And look at all the different directions that they are going in. Let me see up on the side. Look at that pocket of yellow ones right there. Now, the white on this specimen is quartz. There's quartz. So there's quartz here, but there's also little cerussite crystals, little tiny ones mixed in with this. Look at the crystals on this, are practically everywhere. Almost everywhere on this piece, on all sides around it. There is so much to explore because all these pockets, all these little openings are just filled. Oh, that's great. I like that. You can, and then again, you can see up here, look at the bicolors. There was a larger one I had seen when I first noticed the bicolors on here. But if I don't find it, I'll leave it to all of you. Oh, there, look at that. There's one there. What a specimen. I'm looking on the big screen TV because I have a monitor I can watch, or I can turn my head a little and see the big screen TV, which most of you probably are watching it at home that way. And wow, what a view that gives. It makes it hard for me to not look at it because I'm looking at it and it just makes my jaw drop. When you love these kind of things, this is what you live for. I mean, okay, so right here, let me get one little pocket. Look at that back in there. Now, some of these, a lot can be different minerals. Here, right down the middle of that. Look at that. There is crystals right down through there. There we go with me. For you to discover. For you to discover. How fun is that? How fun is that? So you can see, I've been holding it. You can see there's, one little crystal came off. So they're fairly sturdy specimen. Thank you, sir. It's not something that you have to just be worried about, like maybe a crocoite, but what a lovely, lovely representation. And most of the ones that are whatever, somewhat affordable, have to be in this size. Any other some large ones get to be quite ridiculous. I am going to offer this one again from a mine closed in 1880, so they call it extinct, and then in 2009 they opened it up for just for some particular collectors, and they happened to hit this find. Price on this, we're gonna make it only, wow, how about a excellent opportunity at only $58. Yep, $58 on that. All right, since they're so delicate, give me one moment to put those up. I'll be right back. Have something a little different from you for you here. And I tell you what, for those of you looking to get real creative, maybe you want to make your own copper malachite box, maybe? I say copper malachite because malachite is made up of just copper and carbon and oxygen, the CO3 part. So it is a carbonate. How do you want to make sure that, I had synthetic malachite I've shown before, and I should bring, if I don't have it here, I will do a little quickie lesson and show you what to look for. Yes, they even make a synthetic malachite that's pretty good, but there'll be ways to tell, and I'll show you how to tell. So these are all the real deal. This is some of the highest grade malachite that you can get. Now I'm including a little stand right there because you might want to make a display, or if you want to take some of that spray enamel or whatever clear lacquer spray you want to use and create a polished look, you can. Because look at this. Look at the color. Look at the banding. That's what you want to see. And when you get other natural formations, because remember, this is being laid down in bands in its formation. Look at the thickness to it. So this is the exterior, and look at those. Those are little crystals. That's not white, just that little part. White. Those are actually natural little crystals to the outside of this. And this is an end cut. I love the end cuts. Not only do I like them when it comes to my roast beast. But Raven, when I first got my large saw, she claimed every end piece. I get every end cut, and she literally does have a box of end cuts. But on the stuff like malachite and all, there's no way she's gonna get the end cut of this malachite. Extremely, still very useful, very thick. Those of you with a good saw can get even another saw cut through there. So there is that one. Now malachite, it's a very dense material, and that's why it stops the alpha, beta, and gamma particles so well. It's heavy. Of course, it's it's an ornamental use, but it would be a look at that. Look how thick it is. Look at that. You can easily get another saw cut by just hand holding it, because I have both. Look how parallel I have both those sides. So you can easily just hand hold this. I have, and I'm kind of saying it that way. So all of you who don't get one, you go out and get one of those really zippy little 4-inch super thin finger slicer blades. Oh yes, if you it's not like the bigger blades when you jam your finger against it, you're okay. No, these little thin low waist blades that you use to like saw gemstone material like opal, or let's say you're cutting a crystal of tourmaline or something and you want to save every other piece to cut smaller stones from, well, you want to use a really thin saw blade. Well, if you are not let's put it this way, if you don't have a lot of time using one of those little thin blades, you can make a grave error, and it can easily come out at cutting it diagonally, which wouldn't be so good. But there is a way to do it where you'll ensure yourself of a parallel cut to the outsides, and that's just in a few words. How you do that is you mark a line through all the way around it, a Sharpie marker all the way around, and then you start sawing into it straight there. But as you keep sawing, you rotate the piece as you're feeding it into the blade. And as you're rotating it, you're following that line all the way, and meanwhile you're pushing it into the blade. What you end up with at the end is the area mostly hasn't been cut is right in the middle, and eventually you'll saw through that. And you assure yourself of a parallel even cut all the way around, because these are too small to lock up. Even the 4-inch ones don't even have really attachment to lock it up in a vise. This is thick enough. Most vices you probably could, but I prefer hand holding it on a piece of material like this or other precious material. That's how I do it. It seems to work quite well. And the third and last of the malachite pieces, this, you know why I show these and do it this way and make a big deal? Because to get malachite like this, I have malachite I could show you that I have cut. Look gorgeous from the outside. You never really know, but you kind of judge from the outside. All right, so this boulder, it's probably the size of just a little bit smaller than a bowling ball. Worthless. It was worthless. When I started cutting into it, it was shot full of cavernous little unwanted, it looked like a piece of pumice rock from your grill. It had that much air or cavities in it, and it was unusable. Ornamentally, I don't even know what to do with it. So you can get bad malachite, believe me. One other tidbit about malachite. Do not cut it dry. No matter how you cut, sand, polish, whatever you're doing, you wear a mask and have the material wet, because the dust from working on malachite is toxic. So keep that in mind. All right, malachite, another beautiful piece. Really, really high quality. A lot you can do with this because of that quality. And the thing about, again, finishing what I was going to say is, you can waste a lot of money spending a lot per pound and not get 3 pieces this usable. You're just not assured unless you're hand picking this material out. And then of course you pay a premium for it, as you are now, but I assure you then by doing it this way, you get 3 gem quality pieces of malachite. Only $32 for the 3. $32 for the 3 pieces. And that's just a little over $10 a piece of malachite. It will cut very fine malachite, really high polish. I know. I have worked with it, and you won't be disappointed. Now, let me show you, in case you are worrying that there's only one choice, someone's going to buy it. Well, I actually created 2 parcels. Let's look at item 112-4023. 112-4023, and with each of these, I'm including one of the foldable stands. So we'll just keep that stand in there for that. We'll put that here. All right, now this little batch includes just 2 pieces, but they are 2 larger pieces, and just a really great pattern. Let's look at this one. Let's look at this pattern. Look at the color of that. Again, really good stuff. Look at that thickness. Look at how parallel I made those saw cuts, huh? Can you do that? I don't get to brag. No one's at home and to ever brag to, and I work alone and I whine to myself, and boy, believe me, the Raven, no sympathy, none whatsoever. You've been doing this since you were 11 years old. I don't want to hear it. Oh, a lot of fun. All right, really nice, really nice. You know what? I have a feeling that if I actually bent on that, I wonder if that would come apart right there. I don't know. It still looks bonded pretty strong. Look at that. Anyway, beautiful piece there. But here, this is the one you really want. Okay, so anytime you can get a bigger hunk, it was easy. I have lapis hunks. I don't have hunks of malachite unless you want that bowling ball one shot full of holes. Look at this. So you can see, look at the outside of this. So the outside, you're lucky enough, this was a big botryoidal formation that would have formed in the deposit. And the deposit might have been even an open pocket or cave type of formation. So you can see you're getting the true exterior there. Then here's a saw cut. Okay, let's see, is that, no, that's solid there. No, there's no hole there. I thought that was maybe a pocket. I was going to say, well, here's an example of a pocket, but that's even solid right there. Look at the banding in that. Look at how close that banding is. And this makes a look at that. Beautiful, beautiful gem when you have really tight banding, which, in other words, the malachite formed one layer at a time, and in this case, the material came real close to each time it became available. So, you know, thin and many of them. So that you can cut this in so many different directions and get the best play of angle you want. I don't know, I think I'd want to almost go in this way across like that to get in on some of that really close banding action. A lot of things you can do. A lot of things you can do. And it's just a real attractive piece. It'll come with, again, like I said, a display stand if you did nothing else with it. Price on this one, this piece, only $38. Only $38. And again, it's one of those things that malachite, you know, it can be offered at, and you can try to buy it online, but unless you're holding it in your hand, good luck. It's buyer beware on that, because there is a lot of opportunities for you to get some bad malachite, and there is such a thing. I have it, and I was really disappointed. Luckily, though, it was a big batch of estate stuff, and I didn't specifically pay for that. It was like a whole big grouping price. So yeah, I didn't make any money specifically off that. I learned a lot, though, about what to look for in malachite from the outside and all, because I tell you what, those buyers and sellers of that material, when you're dealing in it for a living all the time, they know exactly what it looks like on the inside, even if it's beautiful on the outside. They are slick. It's like I've told you before about the opal dealers in Australia, but I got the one over on them on that big knobby. That was when someone asked me, remember, in the comments about what was my best opal story, and that was it, when I found that incredible black crystal gem in the middle of that. That was exciting, really. And every time I think about it now, it's still exciting. All right, I'm getting ready to show you. Well, let's look at this. Here is something you haven't seen in a while. And let's look at the item number. That will tell you a little something. 842418. My goodness. All right. This is a set of 2. All right. Now, let me put one here. Look at that. Now you're thinking, oh, that's a geode. I know what that is. That's a geode. And you might be right. Here is the other one to this collection. Look at this. Look at this. You would never know. Something 400 million years old is on the inside. This is one of the perfect cleaved or broken open pieces. Just kind of like as if it was a knobby opal, like a how those miners are able to crack those opals so incredibly well and make those splits, those Queensland Boulder opal splits. Well, here you have the positive and negative impression of a creature related to today's horseshoe crab. 400 million years old. Now, I even checked these to see if the fossil bed that they formed in or anything had any radioactive signature, and they didn't. I was quite surprised. Here is something else. Let's see what this one brings us. So no signs from the outside. Wow. Look at that. Look at that. If nothing else, donate one to a school for the science class for a permanent study collection piece. And that way, year after year, every single science class will get to hold something 400 million years old. This is before animals came on land. You might have had some early insects, but most all of living animals were in the sea at the time. And I think that's just incredible how this formed so well. And both of these are probably, I think I was actually keeping these for myself now that I think about it, because they are 2 of the best formed ones I got out of this huge flat that I have. Yeah, that is the case on those. And so now I'm selling them. Silly me. Price on these, price on the 2 of them. How about this? You're gonna love it. And I'm not, it's just, I don't know, $36. $36. So that's $18 a trilobite, 400. You know, those poor little things. Their little souls are worth way more than that for the education that they're going to bring. But yeah, they're nice. Grab them while you can. I have item number 112 4823. 112 4823. And this, let's talk about this. Another fossil. And let me see, sir. It is 112 4923. All right. Look what we have here. With Lacucci. Now, when we say that, with Lacucci, I have been down around there. Of course, growing up in Sarasota, Florida, I have pretty much been all, and having lived there for a long, long time in Florida, including into my driving age, which got me to the Led Zeppelin concert in Tampa Bay Stadium in 1977. 77,000 people at Tampa Bay Stadium, and I was the designated driver for a bunch of us teenagers. Hush. Also laughing back there.
Drinking was the only thing you didn't.
Yeah, I know. I have to admit, being deemed the designated driver just meant you drank a little less than everybody else. Yeah, those were the days. We lived in Sarasota. We got there. On the ticket, it said rain or shine. Now, Tampa Stadium, I don't even know if it's the same stadium anymore, but it was an open air stadium. And it was when Song Remains the Same came out. And they opened with that song. Crowd went crazy. We're up, of course, you know, all tickets were mostly the same price. I remember on the ticket, can you imagine? $10 to see Led Zeppelin. Okay, they come out, they start with Song Remains the Same, crowd goes crazy. Into the third song, a frog strangler of a storm came up, and they said, we have to break right now. We'll be back in a moment. We're all sitting in the rain. My mom is at home watching television. About 15 minutes later, you figure, that was about the amount of time it took to get the band out of the stadium. They come out and announce that the entire concert's been canceled. 77,000 people in the pouring rain when it said rain or shine on your ticket. It was a disaster. We sat up there and we watched them rip the drums apart, rip the huge tall stacks and columns of speakers, all the guitars, everything was just left there still. Of course, they didn't have the opportunity to get it by then. There was like ants. It looked like kicking an ant mound, and everybody's going up on the stage. My mom is at home watching this on the news. And of course, there's no cell phones in that day. What's a cell phone? Are you kidding me? She had to wait all that time until I got home to find out the outcome. And silly me when I look back now, because I would have loved to still had it. I wanted my $10 back. So I sent in this incredible piece of scrapbook, wonderful proof and memory of a concert of Led Zeppelin. And I sent that ticket in for my lousy $10 back. Oh well. But rain or shine, that made me mad. Drove all that way. Could have had an accident. All right. Now, all that said, because there is two sources. See, I'm going to segue into this. Two sources of agatized coral. Tampa Bay, as in Tampa Bay Stadium. Tampa Bay at Ballast Point is one of them. and the other is the Withlacoochee River and the Swanee River up at the Georgia-Florida border. Now, at the time, millions of years, about 30 million years ago, coral grew in all those areas. That was when Florida was underwater. Well, when the water rose, or when the water subsided, it caused sand to form over those coral beds, creating the landmass of Florida. And all that silica from the sand above the coral beds, which ended up to be about 30 feet down, because that's about what the Swanee River, the banks have cut down, and the Withlacoochee have cut down to those coral bed heights, going through all that sand. Well, silica, over all that time, leached its way into the coral. The coral was slowly fossilized and replaced, agatized, if you want to call it, with incredible quality agates. And I had a close friend who has passed away that dove and had a grandfathered license lease on a section of the river, and he was amazing. He also cut and polished all these. Okay, this is one of my favorites because you can see that very defined, well-defined, and it looks like it was just natural coral growing yesterday. I had 14 aquariums at one point with about half and half salt and fresh water. I had a lot of native corals that I had, what they called live coral. Look at this. Look at this. Cut this open and look at what is inside. Look at this. Look at the polished edge. This is beautiful. And so what did I do? I took my ultraviolet light and wow, all the chalcedony part, the chalcedony, which is usually your rim, just lit up and fluoresced. Really, look at this other half. Look at how attractive that is. And those pockets. Look at that. Who would have ever thought this is like a coral geode almost, except in a very natural way. I have a really good deal on this. A really good deal. Let's make it only $48. $48 on that one. A wonderful, wonderful pair. Like Miss Elisa, I know you live in Florida. You need to make sure that you have some of this. Oh, yes, Miss Elisa has one. I remember her telling me it was one I gave her. She said I gave her, it was like 8 inches by 6 inches or something. Anyway, she went to a show, and for the size of the one that she had that I gave away, she said would have been in the hundreds of dollars. Hundreds of dollars. So she said my coral pricing is the best there is. I think I kind of knew that, but I haven't changed it for all you guys. You guys have supported me, continue to do so, and I appreciate that. Wait till you see what's coming up next. Item number 1125023. And again, let's take a little trip to the Withlacoochee. It's absolutely beautiful. I've been on canoe trips along the entire Peace River section of the river, which is kind of cuts through middle Florida, and it is so peaceful and beautiful to do a spring or fall or winter canoe trip. I recommend. Yep. If you're squeamish about gators, stay home. All right, look at this one. Here is another. So this is the exterior. I had to figure out exactly which way it went. That's a magic marker. And then cutting it open. Look at that. Look at the reveal. That's what we'll call it. The reveal. Look at the white color. So this one, I put the black light on. The entire edge, see this, there's a little difference in color, that fluoresced, beautiful. And there's fluorescence on the botryoidal areas as well. Look at that. That is just gemmy. You know, who would have ever thought what it looks like from the outside to what it becomes on the inside. I think, there we go. Price on this one, let's make it only $44. $44 on that guy. So, two amazing deals. All right, so let me get these put away as I should, and I'll be right back. All right, I have a sale price on this item that's going to boggle the mind. Now, if you actually were in Hong Kong, if you were in a tourist shop in especially New Zealand, because greenstone, that's one of their biggest commodities. If you're like on a cruise ship or coming into New Zealand, they talk about greenstone, which of course originally related to the nephrite jade deposits they have on the South Island. I've been there. I've been all over New Zealand. I have brought back New Zealand nephrite. I'm going to get ready to show you a piece right now. And in their culture, greenstone only had to be green. It had nothing to do with it being jade. So right here, you can see, I still remember going there, New Zealand nephrite jade. Now, greenstone, there's a lot of things that can pass for greenstone. Silly me, I actually offered this for sale to all of you, and no one bought it, which I was really thankful for. I said, I was with my dad when I bought this piece, and I am glad no one bought it. That was meant to be for me to have it back. So greenstone is also serpentine. Greenstone is soapstone. Greenstone is aventurine. Greenstone is anything green. And so you don't know what you're getting. In Hong Kong, this would be sold, they have these different names like the grossular garnet that I showed you, the hydrogrossular. In Africa, it's called Transvaal jade. They come up with these other names and all you hear is jade. No telling what this piece could have actually been sold for, but what it genuinely is a wonderful high quality piece of serpentine. Wonderful high quality piece of serpentine. And it has an incredible translucence. Look at that. Look at the translucence behind that. Oh, thanks, Dave. Wow. Look at that. Can you imagine if you actually created something that backlit this piece, and if it was in a cabinet with a light behind it, and use it kind of like at night light at night? You know, I have a lot of different, look at that, settings on my cabinets for different light choices. And this is actually quite lovely. Quite lovely. Look at the birds. Thank you, sir. I believe those might be lotus blossoms. Usually everything is quite symbolic. And it's a three-dimensional one-piece carving. So all this is carved out of one single piece of material. And quite lovely. A lot of detail. Think about the time working with a block of this material to go in and remove this and think, you know, I can carve in 2 dimensions, but when you get into this 3-dimensional stuff like this, you know, it's like 3-dimensional chess. I'm a great chess player, but when I see Star Trek and playing 3-dimensional chess, it's like, huh? Yeah, leave it to Spock, that's for certain. All right, I have a sale price on this. It's with the carved wooden base that works great with it and is made for it. And instead of the, I am a deep discount. I need to sell this. I need to find a home for this. So instead of the $198 it was, let's make a deal. $88. Only $88 on that. That needs to find a home. I have other items, and I want that to belong to one of all you. Okay, I have really a stunning mineral specimen for all of you. 112-4429. And unfortunately, someone else out there, I think I actually had sold one of these. Yes, sir. It is 112-4423.
All right.
Okay, so quite some time ago, maybe, I don't know, less than a year ago, I don't know. Time gets away from me. I think I had another one, and I think I sold it as something less than what it was. Less by way of value, I can tell you that, but maybe didn't describe it with complete accuracy. I recently found, remember, as my house has gotten turned upside down, I knew that there would be areas I'd be looking into as I reorganize the house and find things I hadn't seen. Well, I found this specimen with a old label on it that gave me much more information about it. And it lined up with the description and the pictures that I could, with assurance, bring you the accuracy of this item now. Look at this. This specimen is stunning. Rare Mexican calcite and hematite. This with manganese oxides. This is from the Potosí mine from the 1970s. And back when they collected some stunning specimens. Now, don't really know where to start on this except for the fact that beauty is everywhere. Let's look in these overhanging cliffs back here. I can say it that way because I always picture myself as a little man hiking back in there. Look at these. Everywhere you look, there is a crystalline pocket of beauty. So what has happened is a layer of red hematite has been laid down, and then calcite crystals have grown on top. All these sparklies, then larger calcites in a different form bigger specimens on this. The morphology of calcite has it over 800 different forms that have been attributed to it. And it's really, really stunning. Now, this specimen, it is one stunning find. I have notes that say, page 72 of the 2018 Mineralogical Record, the Mexico Special, Issue 8, Volume 49, Number 1, Santa Eulalia. There is, when these were being pulled out of the mine, they did a special article on the Mexican specimens that were coming out and had come out in the 70s. But they did this in 2018. So if you want to look it up, you can see others, and I'd be really curious to actually see other representations of this piece. This is remarkable, and it is a nice size, and there is nowhere there is not something beautiful. Dave, take us in this ledge. Look at this hematite. Look at the crystals that have grown within the hematite. Look at how far back in there it goes. There is minerals in this that like, okay, so these black, these are probably manganese oxides. Look at all these little vugs. They are all filled. Look at up here in this little pocket, full of crystals. Look at these. Are we all the way in? There we go, perfect. Look at these. Let's go to this side. This is what makes a specimen so much fun, when you can just keep looking at it and the fun doesn't end. Look at these pockets. Look at that. Back in there. There's no telling what you could find. And I'm sure there's additional pockets that are just within it. The ones you don't see. Wow. Wow. Really, look at that. Look at that. And now the back. So there's going to be goethite on here too. I saw some botryoidal goethite, I think. Look at the additional crystals everywhere. And these white crystals, I don't think I have, can we see those a little closer? That is probably maybe another form of calcite, but look at that. Look at those other crystals in there. Look at that. I mean, look at how far back some of these go. That's what's so much fun. Getting out a flashlight, a light, and being able to look back into those pockets. Look at this. This is an old-timey specimen, and I am thrilled to have it. And it naturally almost rests perfectly, because look how beautiful that would look displayed like that. Hematite with calcite in one crystal form over it, then another larger calcites over it. A remarkable old-time specimen. And, of course, the price on it, only a fraction of what you would find a specimen like that selling for now. $248. $248 is all. That is a real jewel. A real jewel. Okay, let's see. Clock is ticking down on me. Let's see what we have. Okay. I was going to show some of those, but I won't. Going to show some of that, but I won't. Here. I have one of, by far, the best deal on natural Akoya pearls. If you have ever wanted, and every woman should have a strand of Akoyas. Item number 1089722. 1089722, I hope comes up right. Every woman should have, as part of their wardrobe, a strand of pearls. They go with blue jeans. They go with an evening gown. They are perfect hand-me-down, inherit. You know, you always hear about, oh, I inherited grandma's pearls. Got my mom's pearls. That's what pearls do. They become part of the family history. Now, this is a 36-inch long necklace. You can get a pearl enhancer, or you can put pearls enhancers on it. You can use those pearl clips to shorten it to any length you want. Look at the match. These are not fresh waters. These are Akoya cultured pearls. It is a 36-inch strand. There is approximately 100 pearls. When you figure out the price per pearl that I'm going to give you, you should be really running to the phone to get these to create an item that you will be able to pass down or just enjoy it yourself. They're simply lovely. I am going to discount these to an opportunity unheard of. This many pearls. How about this? Only $388. You would see that for $1,500 easily. And at $1,500, that's only $15 a pearl. At how much? $388, 100 pearls. That's less than $4 a pearl. Look at that. Claspless. Claspless. That's because it's so long. And look at the match. These are Akoyas, not fresh waters. You would pay more than that for a strand of fresh waters. That is buying a quarter for a nickel. Actually, yeah, if not even better than that. You can arrange those in so many different ways. $388. All right, with the few minutes I have left, let me slam some other things in front of you. Can't believe no one got that piece, but that's okay. You'll have another chance. Okay. Now, let's do some really fun, quick items here. And how about item number 1080-222. 108, whatever I said, 1080-222. I have a, look at this, 100 carats, triplite. And this is some amazing material, and you only have to really hold it up to a light and start looking at it to realize that it's not just a bunch of cloudy material that you're seeing. Well, look at that. Look at that. So anyway, here's 100 carats of triplite right here. Don't have time to show it any better than I'm doing, but at the discount I'm going to make on this, shouldn't matter. How about 100 carats? One of the rarest stones when they first found it. 100 carats. You, those of you with a tumbler out there, tumble this stuff. Tumble it. And when you're paying only $18 for the parcel, you can absolutely feel free and tumble it. Let me show you. I have another 100 carat batch, except these are just 3 big pieces, and look at this. Look at that. Look at the large material. It's almost an entire piece of crystal with some matrix. Very desirable. Check this out. Look at that. Look at the colors in there. You really never know if there's a faceable stone or not until you're in it. And look at that. Look at the clarity. And looking at what you have. Really neat. Now, they never come in crystalline form, but they do come like you see there. Those are actually the way the crystals look in matrix. Look at that. That's a gemmy piece. Okay, so 107592 is $12. And 1080-222, $18. So you have 2 choices. 100 carats each parcel, one with a bunch of smaller ones, one with 3 large ones, triplite. You're not going to do better than that. And coming up, we have the last item of the show, and with so much more to go, but let's wrap it up with item number 108-8622, 86.22, and I tell you what, with the price of gold, what it's been, this is, I have, with all the other gold, I have done other things with, but this one item I thought was by far the best value. That if you don't have a gold chain, out of all the gold chains you could ever have, this is the one you would want. Let me just put it on this big neck for a moment and kind of show it to you quickly. All right, look at this. Okay, this is a really strong double link type of style chain. It will support a lot of weight. Here though is, if you see the catch, a very great working catch. You can see that double link, that makes it really strong. 14 karat gold, and price on this item as an end of show special. Let's make it only, let's do this. Make it $48. That basically is giving it away. $48 on that one. That's the last item of the show. We'll be back with the trivia in just a moment. Okay, so it's that time, trivia time. Now, in case, well, put it this way. Hopefully all of you are taking notes, because it's really the best way to retain knowledge you might hear. You don't have to write down everything, but remember, and if you remember, we're some of the last ones that are going to be taught phonics, it seems, since that's the next thing they're going to take out of school. You know, I really can't believe that they're not teaching cursive anymore. How are kids going to sign their name? Can you believe that? I don't know. Even though the nuns gave up on me and my 8th grade term paper to get out of, graduate 8th grade was done on opal. I actually kept that for many years, and I really, really hope I can find it sometime at some point in my life, because I did my term paper on opal at 13 years old. And of course, you know, I was in parochial school, Catholic school, you know, since you know, my mom was director of religious education for the diocese and also for the parish at another point in Sarasota, yeah. And so, you know, I had a lot of structure that came about from that, but penmanship was one that the nuns gave up on me. I was, not to brag, but I was the smartest child in the class. But that's not a good thing, because if you want to try to be and get along with everybody, you know, the teacher trying to catch the cheaters actually told me to write down the wrong answers on the test that I was taking, and then everybody else that had those same wrong answers was busted. And they were like vultures on a carcass, and I was the carcass of information. All for the little boogers, and you're talking about, this is only like by 2nd grade. I mean, we're cheating on. So what does the nun do? She takes me and isolates me from the rest of the class. That's gonna make me really popular, right? You know, I already have glasses. Haven't liked rocks yet, but I was, you know, my mom already was, you know, somebody. So, you know, and I was picked on horribly because I saw my mom, and, you know, she looked, you know, she was half Oriental, half Chinese. And so, you know, all of a sudden look at me, I became chink, unfortunately. So, you know, I had 3 other brothers. I might have worn glasses and I might have looked geeky, but I was a scrapper. Scrapping with my brothers all the time. And my dad worked out of the house, but he was one of those that y'all work your own problems out amongst you. you boys. You know, he was not going to be called for every instance. And so, you know, we worked it out. Made me tough. Once I whooped on some of those kids in school, and I did. I whooped on them. And then I got that respect for that end of it. But my term paper. Not only did I not have to write it in cursive, but I was allowed to print it. So I printed it. They still couldn't read it. So after class, I had to sit with the teacher and I read my term paper to her. I had to read my term paper to her that was on Opal. A+. A+. Still kind of thrilled about that to this day, the way it all went down. So anyway, by writing things, you know, in phonics, we had to say it, spell it, use it in a sentence, write it in a sentence, you know, cover the whole thing to increase your depth of memory. And it works. And it works. All right. I say that because just during this show, while I'm talking and amongst everything else, look at all my notes. Not only is the comments there, but the notes are in every conceivable part of the page. And I'm the professor. But when Brad and Barbara and others of you ask me great challenging questions, then it requires me to structure my answers in a way that will leave you not as confused as sometimes I think happens, and try to put things in a way that it becomes more concise and understandable. I know in the How It's Done series that without Asif's help on directing me, that it would have turned out so much worse. It was really great to have that person. He didn't even know how to physically sit at the bench maybe and do the job, but he knew how to direct the order of how it was to be presented in relative to how I was, like, say, sizing the ring. So, you know, set all your tools out that you're going to use for the project and the piece of gold, you know, it was just really done. So if you haven't caught those, make sure you do. You will know so much more by the end of them. And they're really, really enjoyable to watch. How It's Done series. It'll teach you everything you would ever want to know for projects done at the bench. And I just was actually flipping through, there's like 30 of them. Flipping through some of them the other day. The last one that I had been kind of following was how to drill a gemstone, and it had over 150,000 views, which is insane for something like that. So specific. You know, how many people out there? Now it's over 175,000 views. There's several others that are over 100,000 views. The second most popular video I have of all these different topics was how to remove a ring stuck on a finger. So simple titles so that people searching, it would bring them to that particular episode. Over 100,000 views of how to remove a ring stuck on a finger. And the rest of that was without destroying it. And yeah, so that's good that a lot of people are finding use from that. All right, here we go. Ready, set, 3 questions. Yes, 3. Now, just do your best. It doesn't have to be right. It just has to be close. Just do your best. And it's mostly for you to help remember and make sense of this whole world. Because it is these particles, these things we talk about here, is where it starts. It is from the ground up, and we are in the ground. Question number 1, name the 3 types of radiation discussed. Now, it may sound like you're going back to school or whatnot, but I tell you what, there's no better time for you to understand just a wee little bit more about these little things flying around in the air around you called radiation. So we discussed 3 types, and that's really basically all the types that you need to know, but you do need to know them. And if you want to put them in the order of the distance they travel, you can do that too. I thought about adding that, but I said, no, we won't do that. But if you want extra credit, if you know the 3 different types, then list them in the order of how far they travel. But the actual question is only how many, name the 3 types of radiation discussed. Question number 2, how many type forms? Okay, so calcite belongs to a specific crystal system, right? But under those crystal systems, they, by the description and the laws of the particular crystal, there are what are called habits or forms. It's called the morphology. Now remember, we just talked about pyromorphite. Pyro, easy enough to figure out, means fire, like pyromania. Morph means form. Fire form. We talked about pyromorphite because, remember, I have a crumb, I have a torch, I'm going to heat that crumb up, and I'm going to see if it doesn't pull the lead out of it and then recrystallize as it cools down. Oh, I can't wait. So, within a particular crystal system, a mineral can have many other habits. And I think calcite beats them all. How many different types or habits of calcite have been described? How many different forms of the crystal system it forms within? And all these forms still, by way of description, belong to that crystal system. So how many forms have they described so far in the calcite world? Question number 3, what is the name for the sound of crystals cracking, or let me see, read my own writing. What is the name for the sound of certain crystals breaking with heating? There we go. I just read how I wrote it. I have trouble with my own writing, I think. Yep. So, what is the name for the sound of certain crystals breaking upon heating them? What is the name given to that particular sound? And I think I'm actually learning something here too. So I thought that when he wrote that word, it was a typo. Now, where Brad used it, I don't think it was exactly the word for what he was trying to find out, but it was a great educational word nonetheless. So there you go. Name the 3 types of radiation discussed. How many type forms of calcite have been described? What is the name for the sound of crystals breaking upon heating? How fun. All right, so it's been the 4th of July weekend. You're having a great time. You're staying cool. You're not overheating. You're drinking plenty of the right kind of fluids. And keep safe. I actually had a bracelet, and I'll bring it in next week because I was going to see if any of you knew what it was and zoom in on it. And but I'll show it to you next week because it actually has me stumped, which is a, of course, unusual thing. We'll see if any of you have seen anything like it. And that's where Professor can use all of you as a extended form of an encyclopedia, which is how I used to get information, was that set of encyclopedias. I still remember the encyclopedia salesman coming to our door to sell us the set of encyclopedias. And that is how we got our information. Wow, times change. All right. God bless all of you. Thank you again for all your support and continued purchases. I, of course, can't wait to see you. We'll be back Monday. You know, so far I'm on a roll. I hope it keeps up health-wise, and I hope all of you are having a healthful and wonderful summer thus far. All right. I've enjoyed it. I hope you have too. See you Monday.